Stampers, this is Jeannie Moss, the Bluegrass Stamper. I'd like to welcome you to my studio here in the Bluegrass state of Kentucky. It's a pretty day out today, and we are going to make a quick and easy card using the Thoughtful Wishes bundle. Now this card, it's one of those when you need a card at the last minute and you've got like 15 minutes to make a card, you could easily make this one. So I'm not sure if you can see the score lines. We have score lines across and up and down. And inside it says, "Thinking of you fondly." So again, this is just a quick and easy card. It's a monochromatic card, which means it uses one color plus a neutral. I'll be using the Thoughtful Wishes bundle. So we'll be using this stamp, these two stamps, and we'll be using the die, I have it out already, that will cut out this pretty piece. So that's what we're using today. We'll also be using the Happy Labels punch, and that's this one. It will punch out, punch the end. You can put in different size strips of paper, and then it'll punch the end in either this postage stamp look or the little scallops. So we'll be using this one. You'll need some supplies. This is a 5.5 by 8.5 piece of Summer Splash. That's one of the 2024-2026 in colors. I've scored it at 4 1/4 on the long side, and I've just folded that and used my bone folder to give that a nice crease, and that will be our card base. I have 2 panels of basic white. These are the same size. They are both 4 by 5 1/4, one for the inside, one for the outside. I've got another piece of Summer Splash. This is what we will be using to die cut. I've got a piece of the DSP, the 6x6 2024 to 2026 in color DSP. It's a 6x6. I've just got a tiny little piece of that that I'll be using. And then I've got a strip. This is just a scrap. It's a 1/2 inch by, I don't know what that is, maybe 5 1/4 inches. So, but we're not using all of that. So you just need a scrap. So let's get started. Again, it's monochromatic, so we're only using one ink color, and that will be the Summer Splash. I'm going to bring in my foam pad because well, actually, I don't need the foam pad. These are not photopolymer stamps, so these actually have a cushion. These are the rubber, the red rubber, the cling stamps, and they have a cushion, so I don't need that. I will bring in some scrap paper, though, and one of my white panels. So I'm going to work on the inside first. I'll just ink that up. You don't want to rock the stamp. You don't want to get ink all around the edges. We'll just put this here along the left-hand side and give it a good press. And there's the image for that. Then I'm also using the Thinking of You Fondly. Ink that up. I like to look at them, make sure I've got ink, and make sure I don't have ink all around the edges. And I'm just going to put that right here. So the inside of our card is finished, and we are ready to put this inside. My last video I made a boo-boo, so I moved it a little quicker than it was dry, and so I ended up having to show how to fix that boo-boo. So if you're looking at my projects on YouTube, there's one that is a pinwheel fold, and I show you how to fix an error when you stamp and get a little bit of a extra ink that you don't want. So there's the inside of our card. And now we are going to move to the outside of our card. So I'm going to take this piece. Actually, let me go ahead and do my stamping while I've got the ink out. We're going to stamp on our scrap. And we have the Dearest Friend stamp. This is a very narrow stamp, so be careful that you don't rock it and get a lot of extra ink. And I'm going to just stamp that on this scrap. So I have this, and then I'll put that to the side, and now I am finished with my ink pad. So back to our white layer that's going to be on the front of our card. I am going to score this, and I've got my Simply Scored tool, and I've got it marked at 1 inch. And I'm going to lay this in so that it is vertical. I'm going to use the larger end of my stylus, and I am going to score this at that 1 inch mark. And then I'm going to make 5 score lines. So that was number 1, and I'm going to go to the very next track, and I'm going to do number 2, the next track, number 3, the next one, number 4, and the next one, number 5. So now I've scored that at 5 different places. I think maybe you can see that. Now I'm going to turn this a 1/4 of a turn. So these score lines are at the bottom of the page. And I'm going to do the very same thing. I'm going back up to the 1 inch mark. And I'm going to do 5 consecutive score lines. So basically you're scoring from 1 inch to 1.5 inches. And now I'm going to run over these other score lines just a little bit so they have a little more definition. Let's see what that looks like. Okay, so now can you see the score lines on this page? I'm hoping that you can. So now we're flipping that over so that the bumps are up. And if we do that, there should be an intersection down here in the bottom left corner. So this is the side that we scored on. And then we're flipping it over. This is going to be our front side. And we're going to go ahead and adhere that to our card. So this just gives you a nice little detail, a little more fancy card without any cost. So it doesn't cost you anything to add those score lines. Now we've got this piece on. Our next step is to take our die, and that's going to be this one. This is in that Thoughtful Wishes. So this is a really pretty die, and we're going to take a piece of our Summer Splash cardstock, and I'm going to lay that die on, and I'm going to run it through my Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine. And when I do that, I will end up with this piece. And so now we're going to put this piece on our card. So I'm just going to flip him over, and I'm going to add some tiny little specks of glue. You could use your if you have the fine tip glue, this would be a good opportunity to use that. But I'm very careful about not squeezing my glue bottle. I really just want just tiny little bits of glue on here. So be careful if you don't do well with glue. You could always use the adhesive sheets, and you'd put that on your cardstock before you run it through the machine, and then when you peel the back off, it becomes a sticker. So I highly recommend those adhesive sheets for these detailed dies. So if you can see the glue, I'm not sure if you can see the tiny little spots of glue that I've put on here. And now we are just going to lay this on our card. It's going to kind of go from one side down to the bottom, and we're going to stick that down. So you can see we're kind of close to the edge here. We're kind of close to the edge of the white down there. And that is adhered. Then we will take our piece of DSP. This is a 1/2 inch by 4. And we're going to put that on just above our score lines that we put on the card. We don't want to cover up our score lines. So we're going to put that on just above those score lines. Then we'll take the piece that we stamped. I'm going to cut a little bit more off the end here. And then I'm going to cut some off of this, but I want to leave enough that I can put a little embellishment on there. So I've just cut this down to be a little smaller. And then I'm going to slide it in. I'm going to use the little scalloped side of this. And I'll slide it in, and I do it face down so that I can see my words, so I know I'm not punching into my words. And I'm just going to line that up and give it a little snip. I'm going to turn it around to the other end. I'm going to do the very same thing. I'm going to put it in there and line it up and give it a little snip. So there's our greeting. This will go on with dimensionals. So I have some little edges left from these. These are from a paper pumpkin kit, and I'm just going to snip those and use them. These our dimensionals are wonderful because there is no waste. Once you use all the little hexagons, you can trim the edges. You can use the edges, just snip them up and use them. There are no weird pieces. Now this piece is just going to be put, right across the front. We're not going to cover up all of that DSP. And now we're ready to embellish. So I've taken some of our rhinestone basic jewels and I've used my blender pen. I like to use the bullet point. So this is if you see the fine line and the thick line, the fine line is a harder point, and so the facets of the jewels won't damage the point. And all you're going to do is just color those jewels. And as you can see, I've already done that. So you can see the difference in the colors. And now I'm just going to take your pick tool and grab a hold of those. I'm going to put one over here. I'm going to put one up here. And another one up here. And so that is our card. So as you can see, it was very quick and easy. I hope you enjoyed it. If you have any questions, you can reach out to me at bluegrassstamper@gmail.com. If you'd like to see more projects, I have a website. You can visit www.bluegrassstamper.com. If you need any supplies, I'd love to help you with that. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel, and I hope to see you next time. Bye.